Hi folks, this is Jay. Hope you're okay today. Last video for today. We're looking at this Why God Won't Go Away by Alistair McGrath, and it's published by SPCK, so please get hold of the book and have a read of it. And he tells us, he talks about in page 31 the strange story of Dawkins Forum. This is very, very strange. The defensive aggressiveness within New Atheist community is perhaps seen at its clearest and most destructive in a recent ferocious controversy over the shutdown of Dawkins Forum. By early 2010, this section of the website of the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science was firmly established as the leading atheist virtual community. Then many of its members found that they were blocked out, unable to post comments. The shutdown began on 23rd of February 2010 when a decision was made to close the existing forum section of the website to allow for greater editorial control. It remains unclear precisely who was behind this decision, but the announcement took activists by surprise and caused immediate fury. Peter Harrison, one of its moderators, was shocked to learn that his role had been terminated. The news that the world's busiest atheist forum was being shut down, he fulminated, was a matter of lies, censorship and cowardness. He and others had been viciously betrayed by their colleagues at richarddawkins.net. Other members were not slow to express their outrage, and many using scatological and hate-charged language that simply cannot be repeated here. Bloggers swamped other free-thinking sites on the web with an extraordinary outpouring of resentment, anger, bile and scarcely concealed contempt for those seen to be responding for this decision, including Josh Timonen, who managed the website, and Richard Dawkins himself. Dawkins, then on a lecture tour of Australasia, was clearly taken aback by this unexpected turn of events. He responded on 24th of February in a hastily written post entitled Outrage that criticized the ludicrously hyperbolic animosity that the decision had provoked. He expressed the sadness that any greatly liked and respected person, does he mean himself, would experience if they found themselves subjected to personal vilification on an unprecedented scale from anonymous commentators. Dawkins was clearly distressed at being called a super-ranting rat's rectum, to mention only one of the choice descriptions alleged to be used by rebellious members of this suppressed oasis of rationality and science. Let us be clear. Dawkins was clearly treated unfairly by his many new atheist critics. A Nietzschean herd mentality displaced any pretense at valuing cool and clinical judgments of reason, and he was in its unfortunate target. He has my total sympathy. As Begini rightly pointed out, many new atheist fanatics derive their identity from identifying and vilifying their enemies. In this remarkable turnabout, Dawkins came to be seen as such an enemy. The ranks of godless faithful closed against him. Many atheist bloggers despaired of the impact that the closing of the forum would have on the public reputation of the new atheism. How long, one of them wondered, before this was used as evidence that the atheists cannot form healthy communities, or become an anti-Dawkins talking point in good without God debates. In fact, the suppression of the forum, though an obvious embarrassment for the new atheism, not least because it deflated some of the more pompous overstatements of its communal virtues, was not the real problem. The big concern was the very public nature of the civil war, which drew aside curtain and allowed outsiders to peer inside the citadel. They did not much like what they saw. Instead of being treated to a feast of reason and a flow of the soul, Alexander Pope, they found prejudice, profound lack of intellectual ability or inquisitiveness, and an instinctive contempt for those who disagree with the new atheism. Again, let us be clear. Dawkins was absolutely right to call time on some of the contributors to his forum, particularly those whose sick comments suggest that they might be social psychopaths or otherwise mentally disturbed. I am not easily shocked, but in the past I found myself disturbed by the simplest sloganeering, venom contempt, rhetorical violence and sheer hate directed by some of these bloggers against religion. Nobody does nasty as well as New Atheist websites. As Dawkins himself noted, this unpleasant characteristic was doubtless encouraged by the lack of accountability ensured by anonymous postings. Yet isn't such irrational hatred what the New Atheists want us to believe is characterized only... Yet isn't such irrational hatred what the New Atheists want us to believe is characteristic only of... Yet isn't such irrational hatred what the New Atheists want us to believe is characteristic only of religion? But if not, it's in atheism as well. But the story doesn't end there. Dawkins dedicated his 2002 book, The Greatest Civil Show on Earth, to his young disciple, Josh Timonen, who ran the Dawkins website. In October 2010, Dawkins filed a lawsuit against this same Timonen, alleging that he defrauded Dawkins of hundreds of thousands of dollars raised by marketing atheist merchandise and Dawkins memorabilia through the website. Modestly describing himself as the world's best known and most respected atheist, a judgment that very few atheists I know would affirm, Dawkins demanded $950,000 in damages. Timonen responded by speaking of his ultimate betrayal and baseless vendetta against him. This very public scandal does nothing to help the public image of the New Atheism. We're used to hearing about financial scandals in religious organizations, but this one was meant to be above that sort of thing. No wonder that so many now think that the New Atheism is looking more and more like another new religious movement. However, to use the categories of the sociology of religion, it behaves like a sect rather than a church. It has its boundaries, which are rigorously policed and enforced within the community. It has its own infallible text and demands that its leading figures be treated with a respect and reverence that it conspicuously fails to apply to everyone else. I, along with others, prefer to regard it more like a form of celebrity culture. Certainly a fixation on celebrity would explain why the New Atheism is so obsessed with the sales figures of its core text and so irritated by those who criticize Dawkins and his colleagues. We'll end it there. One of the things about the New Atheism is they are obsessed with sales figures, and they are obsessed with you talk to the atheist and they're obsessed with how many viewing figures they've got, how many people are watching the channel, how many subscribers they got. You go on and look at the history of these atheist websites, YouTube sites, and they'll always keep commentating. Thanks, I've got 500 subscribers now, and then they'll go a few months later. Thanks, I've got 1,000 subscribers, and they're always saying that on their website, on their YouTube sites, because you know, to them this is the main thing: how many subscribers you got, how many viewers. How many sales figures, how much merchandise we can sell. But what we've just read is a civil war, that civil wars break out in the New Atheism that we don't know much about, that's hidden from us. And we've just heard a story of one civil war, and these are nasty civil wars. We're even seeing one now within atheism with From the Foot and Free Thought blogs. But these civil wars are nasty, and show how hypocritical the New Atheism can be. But also we've seen the personal vendettas that can happen as well, as we've seen with Dawkins and one of his own fellow colleagues who he employed. So civil war and vendettas in the New Atheism. Alright, take care and God bless you.